So welcome. I know there's a few of you in the audience, but who's first time ever at the Fire Center? Raise your hand. Yeah. Awesome. Welcome. Appreciate you guys coming. We will have some time later this evening after we're finished. So if you don't have to run off after we're done. There's plenty of networking opportunities so you guys can get to know more people, or I'm pretty sure Goodwin and Andy will stay after if you guys have more questions, because there's going to be a lot of questions. So just a little bit about what we do here at the Fire Center. And those of you that haven't heard any of the updates yet on what Rich has done with the club, we do have additional, clubs that are coming up. So we have now IRAC, the Inland Empire Real Estate Investment Club, is now just our Wednesday night meetings, and then the classes that we hold, like John Schaub, Pete Fortunato, where your membership will include that 15% off those classes. And then SoCal Exchangers is now its own meeting, or its own club. Sorry, it is its own meeting, but also its own club. So some of you can't attend Wednesday nights and only can go to Exchangers. That's perfect for you. And if you can't go during the morning sessions, or not morning, it's 12 to 2. Morning for me, because morning starts like at 10 o'clock. So, but SoCal Exchangers, if you can't come on Wednesdays, you can go there. And that's also hybrid, so if you can't come, that's on Zoom as well. And then there's the new group, Crestline Real Estate Investors Club, where Rich, since he lives up in those mountains and he focuses on that area, he's starting something once a month. Not sure when the first one will be, but it should be soon. And then we have the Rat Race Escape Club, because a lot of you love cash flow game night, but we no longer host it. So those of you that are, love your cash flow game, we will have its own like one-time fee, or you can become a member of that club. We also have CalREA, which is focusing on policy. So it's the California Real Estate Investor Alliance. So we're focused on policy, not politics. So we're looking at policy that affects investors. So that's what that club is. And then for those of you that have not been on Rich's podcast yet, it's the Fire Chat podcast. It's free. It's really cool to look back at the beginning of your investing journey and be like, wow, I did a lot in the last few years. So I really enjoyed being on the podcast. There's many of us that have. You could just go to his website or look up Fire Chat. I think it's firechatpodcast.com, if I'm right. And you could sign up and he'll interview you. So, and then for those of you that are new members, if you have not had your free 30-minute call with Rich, go back to that first email that you got when you signed up and click on that link and you could schedule something with him. Okay? Sponsors. I'm trying to see if we have anyone in the room. I don't see anyone. We had a couple of them earlier during Exchangers. But we just ask that if you're looking for a loan, give Steve at Peak Finance a chance. If you're looking at solar, talk to Lee. He also does security systems and Inspire Escrow. If you're needing escrow services, talk to them. And then there's was I right? Oh, it doesn't have the website. Oh yeah, firechatpodcast.com. I was right. Okay, so you could go there if you want to sign up, or you could scan that QR code. It'll take you directly to that page to all of our sponsors. And who loves to go cruising and it be a business write-off? Yeah. All right. So next year in September, we are going to Alaska. If you want to go, it's a $250 deposit per person. So why it says 500 is it's based on double occupancy. Single occupancy is almost the same price. So if for some reason you really want to go, but you don't have someone to go with, we can pair you. Last year I paired a couple ladies together in a room, and now they're best friends, right, Sarah? You and Michelle are besties? Oh, yeah. So it just, you could, so if there's anyone that is looking for a roommate and I could add you to that list, just let me know and I'll put you on that list. And that is a fully refundable deposit up until I think 2 months before the cruise goes. So if plans change or anything, but it's really good because I paid $500 and locked in my balcony view room, so I'm really excited. So, yay, glaciers. Okay. And Pete Fortunato is coming, I was going to say next month, August 17th and 18th. So what is that? a month away officially. So if you have not got your tickets, and say you went last year and you love Pete and you want to see him again, you definitely want to get your ticket because this will sell out. When we were at the Marriott, we had 170 seats, but in this room, we're maxing out at 75. And I believe we're more than halfway sold on those tickets. And all you investors love to wait till last minute. So if we say there's tickets left, it's probably tickets left until a certain point. So just grab your ticket as soon as you can. IRAC members, you get that 15% off. And I'm not sure if there's still early birds, but they are gone? Okay, well, it still said it up there, so I didn't know if Rich just forgot to take it off. Okay, sorry, no early bird, but you still get your 15% off if you're an IRAC member. And that is all I have. And, oh, you know what? A thing that Rich has been doing, which I really do like, has anyone in the room made an offer this last week that wants to come up and talk? I don't want to scare anyone. No offers made?
All right, you're it. Come on up. I closed a deal.
You closed a deal? No offers made. Okay. Now, our mentor, when I very first started coming to this club, there was a gentleman, Mick Blackwell, and that's a good reminder to put our phones on silent, please. So, and Andy too. Andy, can you put your phone on silent? Andy's the one that his phone normally goes off. So, yes, all day. Hold on, what happened? So, sorry, I'm like the worst person when it comes to getting distracted and I can't focus, so. Okay, let me go back to where I was. Thank you. So Mick Blackwell was a good mentor of mine, and he passed in 2022, 3. I already forget now. It's been at least a year, close to 2 years, but he, anytime you ran into Mick, he was, what offers did you make this week? Because guess what? If you want to buy a house or a property, you can't just want it, you have to make an offer. So, I mean, do you really not want to come up? Scott, you don't want to come up? It's okay if you don't. It's up to you. No one wants to hear me talk about the offer I made again. No? Okay, I'll just go over what I did. So, I saw something is super random. I mean, I look at investor lift deals, but this one in particular popped up in my text messages saying, hey, alert, this house came up in your area. So it's a 4-bedroom, 3-bath house, 2,500 square feet. Conservative current value is $550, but it could go up to $600. And the perfectly fine house, easy to just put a tenant in there. And they only wanted 80% of the value, so they wanted $440. So they originally were asking $430. So I said I could do it at $430, but then when they came back and said, well, can you close in 10 days? I'm like, and do $440. I'm like, I could do $440 if I get 30 days to close. So I'm gonna lock in a traditional finance first loan, and then I'm partnering with Goodwin et al. I don't know who all was in that deal, so there's a few other, was it 5 people? That Fernando's went back there, raising his hand. So today at Exchangers, I came here and I said, hey, I need $105,000 to close on this house. So that includes the 20% of the purchase price and closing costs. And I'll share the house with somebody. So I'm getting the first, I'll do all the management. Oh, he's gonna say something. But instead of owning 100% of a house and taking out debt, I would rather own 50% of a house and share it with other people in the club. So,
are you saying
yeah.
You made an offer on a house and promised a down payment and you didn't have the money?
Correct.
I've learned from you. How could you dare to do that?
I learned from you.
It's
a joke. Yes, I can do that, but I'm a little light, right? I didn't have the down payment, but instead of me coming to the down payment and paying whatever percent to an investor, I figured why not partner with someone where we could both own a portion of this house and all win. So
Right.
that's what we're doing. So I would rather own 50% of something than 100% of nothing.
Can I pluck out the important message?
Of course.
You made an offer,
Right.
even though you didn't have the money.
You know, I was on the phone with Manny, was it last night or 2 nights ago? Yesterday. I saw the house yesterday, they made an offer and signed the contract. But anyways, and I was telling him, I'm like, I don't know, what did I do? Like, and I'm like, he's like, Farrah, you're really doubting? After we just bought 7 mobile homes and we didn't have the money then? I'm like, you're right. So that's why I really like this club, because the more we get to know each other. I'd rather do deals with you guys first before I go and look for something outside the club. So I practice what I preach. All right, that's it for me. Since Scott didn't want to come, I'll ask you about it later.
I'm going to move a chair so I hold still for a change. Hey, Goodwin, how's that slide deck this week?
Yeah, what slide deck?
Oh, I thought, was I in charge of the slide deck?
No, we're not gonna
Oh,
we're
we're
not
not.
gonna do a slide deck.
Okay.
And by the way, Manny, you're part of that deal with Farrah. So we're talking about self-directed IRAs, and actually this is a good segue into that. So I will have Manny come up and talk a little bit about his self-directed IRA that he just sent me an email last night that he moved from one custodian to another. And I got this email late last night, and he said, okay, go ahead and look for a deal for me. And so sure enough, found a deal for him today, and I only told him about it once he came in this evening. So Manny, would you mind coming up just for a moment and just kind of telling us about your previous custodian?
Can we start with some basic stuff, though?
Yeah, let me go ahead and just finish this one.
We'll do Manny. Go ahead.
So, hi guys. So yeah, I had some money from like 2 jobs ago up in like IRA land with
Otherwise, the girl in the back will holler at.
with another custodian called Millennium Trust. I thought I can do some of the deals that the guys here do with that custodian. I'd reached out to Goodwin. I took Goodwin's class. I took Andy's class as well. Goodwin's class focused strictly on notes, and that was very interesting to me. And so as part of that, I was very intrigued to start doing these note deals, right? So ended up moving some of that money over, but you know, Goodwin did the research that he does and found out that I can't really do the kind of deals that we want to do with that custodian. So he told me, you know, he gave me a bunch of options on different custodians to look at, so I ended up moving that money from one custodian to one that he's very familiar with. And yeah, here we are now. I had no idea that it was gonna go this fast. I kept checking because, you know, it takes a while for the funds to transfer over. And yesterday I checked, I'm like, maybe something will be there already. And sure enough, it was there. It's not a lot, it's a small portion, but it's something. And then I have a few more dollars up there that hopefully next year, I'm trying to stay below the next tax bracket, so I'm very conservative on how much I move over. But yeah, so here we are. Thank you. And I had no idea that this was happening today.
So you just said you were limiting the amount you're transferring because of the tax rate. Is that because your new self-directed account is going to be all Roth?
Yes.
Okay. Is that the question you had? No. Go ahead.
Equity trust.
Oh. I know who you've been talking to. Who here doesn't have an IRA? Everyone near them scowl at them. How old are you?
23.
You got 50 years to go, don't you?
Yep.
I got a math question for you. You can use a calculator, you can take off your shoes if you need to. $500 a month, invested at 15%, For the 50 years you still have to go before you're going to think about retiring, what's that grow up into?
Compounded interest or just?
Well, yeah, I like my interest compounding. Minute by minute, if I can get it.
73 million?
It was close. It's wrong, but it's close. Who here knows the answer? I've tortured almost everyone in the room with this question. Really? Gee, the guys usually all remember this number.
Wait, hold on.
What was the percentage?
15%. 500 a month at 15% for 50 years. $69 million. See, all the guys remember that number usually. Next.
It's 68,996.
Yeah, 69 because we round. Next question.
With 89 cents.
If you
With 89 cents.
only invested for 49 years, what would it grow up to?
55 million?
That's a good guess. It actually is 59 million. Did you realize that it cost you $10 million because you did not fully fund your Roth IRA last year and invest it well? Is that a significant number in your life? Could you afford to not eat cat food when you were old if you had $69 million in the bank? If you did nothing else but put $6,000 into your IRA this year and invest it well so you make north of 15%, never put another penny in 50 years you would have $10 million to spend tax-free and thumb your nose at the Infernal Revenue Service. Now, once again, who doesn't have an IRA so your neighbors can scold you? That's okay. I'd like to think after tonight, no one in the room's not going to have an IRA that's self-directed. That's our goal tonight. We're going to do everything we can to show you why you really, really want to be socking money away into that Roth IRA.
So, who has questions? And let's see, we can go and try and answer a few questions first, and then I'll kind of go over a general overview of how these work. Okay, let's start with
Ebony, okay?
Okay, so hi, I'm Ebony. I work for the county, and I know that I have a retirement.
You've got a very good
But
a good one. Too.
that's what everybody thinks. But what can you do with it? It's over there. How can I move it to do something different, or does it have to stay there?
Well, it depends on the plan you have. An important factor for all the people in the room who are depending on CalSTRS and CalPERS to pay your pension, it's broke. It depends on, it's a Ponzi scheme just like the Social Security system. It depends on other investors, other workers paying in to pay you, and it's going to start needing money from the taxpayers because it's been overpromised. So be cautious with that. Are you contributing to it, or is it just coming from your job?
It comes from them and me.
Okay. So are you forced to do the and me part? Is it like a 403B or a 401K?
It's a 40 something.
Okay. So they're
Are you CalPERS?
No, it's SB Sarah.
so they're going to match some percentage of what you put in up to some limit. So I encourage people, you should put in up to the limit on the match because that's free money, right? Then you should fully fund your Roth IRA. Then if you have any extra you want to put in, then you should go back and put more into the county plan. Is there anyone in the room that doesn't know what an IRA is?
Probably.
Oh, there we go, brave person at the front. Go ahead, Goodwin, explain.
so IRA, individual retirement account. generally comes in two flavors: tax deferred and tax free. So what's the difference between the two? So for one, you get a tax deduction now, or basically you don't pay taxes, not really a deduction. You don't have to pay taxes because what's going to happen, you're going to put it into a traditional IRA account or the equivalent. A 401k is an equivalent at the corporate level. So that's tax deferred. What tax deferred means is that at the time you take those funds out, you will be paying taxes at that time. Tax free is when you pay taxes up front, put the money in, invest it in your vehicle of choice, and as that money grows, then all that is tax free. Okay, so there'll be varying versions of these concepts as we talk about specific IRA plans. Okay.
So the question is, would you rather pay taxes on $300,000 spaced out $6,000 a year, or on $69 million? That's your choice. Which one? Who here wants to pay tax on $69 million instead of $300,000? So who here has a traditional IRA or a traditional 401k and is making that choice? Manny, that's the reason he's moving money over slowly, because he needs to talk to me about some non-performing notes. We will talk about, he and I, quietly.
The difference between traditional and Roth IRA.
The difference between traditional or Roth IRA is, do you want to pay tax on the seed or do you want to pay tax on the crop?
I'm not sure.
You're not sure. Okay, I'll say it in numbers. Would you rather pay taxes on
Now,
$300,000, $6,000 a year, or on $69 million?
probably on the 300,000.
That's called paying tax on the seed instead of on the crop. If you plant a grain of wheat, harvest your wheat, that one stalk is going to have about 100 grains, 100 seeds. If you plant those 100 seeds and do it again, those 100 plants are going to have 100 seeds. It's the joy of compound interest. There's a lovely lady in a red shirt who's got her hand up back there.
2 questions.
Okay, wait for the mic so everybody can hear you, because I was giving people a hard time today in exchangers.
Okay, I have 2 questions. First question, if your income is above 218,000, above the threshold that allow you to contribute to Roth, is there an alternative way to save?
Great question. Now, let me explain that. There is a limit of $218,000 in your income. I will assume you've got the number right because I don't pay any attention to it. If you are making that much, you cannot contribute to a Roth IRA directly. They wrote that into the law because they know that the vast majority of this country suffers from a bad case of envy. And they think rich people have it easy and they envy them. So they want to make it so that rich people can't get a Roth IRA. But being that they're politicians and they're corrupt, they put in a back door. So you can contribute to a non-deductible traditional IRA account no matter how much you make. The next day, you can recharacterize and convert your traditional non-tax deductible contribution to Roth and pay the taxes you owe, which should be nothing.
Pay tax on the seed, you just said.
Always pay tax on the seed.
Beautiful, thank you.
Second question.
Second question, for the self-directed IRA, do we need to file tax returns every year?
No. I've been encouraged from an attorney who, but the question was, do we have to file a tax return on our IRA account?
Self-directed.
It doesn't matter, it's an IRA account. Theoretically, all IRA accounts are self-directed. The limitation isn't in on the quote-unquote self-directed IRA account. The limitation is due to the custodian's limitations on you, not the government. And what was your question again?
Do you-
Do you have to file a tax return? No, you do not have to file a tax return, but there is a UBIT tax return if you're doing things that are exciting. John Heyer, who is an attorney I deeply respect, says you should be filing 550T. Is that the right number?
That's correct.
550T every year. Even if you don't, it's a UBIT tax return. And I bet you have a good question, because I know what question I haven't explained.
I'm going to throw a jargon flag. What's UBIT?
See, I deserve that very much. UBIT is a tax that you pay on earnings in your retirement funds, whether it be an IRA or a 401k. And can we agree that unless it's a specific 401k discussion, we're going to keep saying IRA, but realize that 401k applies almost universally to the same things. So UBIT is unaffiliated business income tax. So the government, in their infinite lack of wisdom, didn't want it to be unfair for our retirement funds that are tax-free to compete with taxable businesses. So they gave an onerous tax to us of 37%, whatever the current trust income tax rate is charged against us on any earnings that we make by running an unaffiliated business in our retirement funds, or UDFI, which is unaffiliated debt finance income. I got the acronyms right. That's weird. That's for money you borrow. So if you buy a rental house in your IRA and you borrow 50% of the money to buy the rental house, then you owe tax on 50% of the earnings from that rental house until you pay that loan off. You got a question in the dead center. Did I explain that clear enough?
Hey Andy, it's Ron. Last
Hey, Ron.
week when we spoke about this topic, you told me to look for a true self-directed IRA. What am I looking for?
You're looking for an IRA custodian who will allow you to invest in any legal investment. That means if you go to your traditional IRA custodian, they were going to let you purchase things where they get a commission. You can buy notes, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, anything that guy gets a commission for convincing you to buy. You can only buy stuff he makes a commission on. They don't tell you that way, but that's the rule. A real self-directed custodian, such as Equity or Advana or Udirect, will allow you to invest in any legal investment. There are some limitations on who you can invest with. You are not allowed to invest, you're not allowed to lend or borrow from a vertical relative. Most of us in this business got started with our first ever deal using some money from mom and dad, right? Who else? I'm not the only guy. And something you guys should all think about. So there are people that are embarrassed to be proud of the fact that their parents gave them a boost up. What a great vote of confidence that somebody who they had changed your diaper in the past and they had faith in your abilities and the education you had acquired to lend you money and let you go out and take a chance on losing it. And you don't know this because your parents were boomers like I am, but our parents were depression raised. And they make pennies squeak when they walk in a room, let me tell you. Did you have a second question?
I did. So your formula takes into consideration 50 months, or 50 years, of investing, right?
Correct.
How realistic is that, considering that we're only putting in $500 a month? How can I invest in something in those first few years when I only have $16,000, $12,000, $18,000?
You haven't come to exchangers.
I have not.
So Goodwin, what was the smallest piece of the deal you did today?
Smallest piece.
It was Asher, just FYI. CISA.
So Asher did $500.
No, our deal, not the Detroit thing. You've forgotten, Asher put 2,000 into the 105.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
2,000.
$2,000.
Yeah.
2 people in the room put 500 into a Detroit investment.
Yep.
A big $500. How many people have heard me in here bitching because I had $10,000 sitting idle in an IRA?
10,000?
Yeah, then I'm really bitching. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like to keep them below 2,000 personally. I do a ton of little. I funded, today I sent a wire for $2,000 out of one of my retirement accounts. So that's 4 months. You had a question way back and I didn't get to you. Still got it?
You answered it. I was gonna ask what's the difference between a direct IRA and a solo 401k, but
Got
so
it.
it's kind of interchangeable.
We're going to talk about solo 401ks in a minute. And there was a hand on the other side of the room. There we go.
So I know everybody talks about lend out money, make the money on the interest. But can you guys go over, because I fell for this one, can you go over what backs it up when you're borrowing, when you're lending people this money? What paperwork needs to be filled out so that you are safe to know you're getting your money back?
Excellent, excellent question. The question is, what kind of paperwork is required to make sure that your loan is secure? Boy, Goodwin.
I'll take
I'll
this
let
one.
you field that because Andy is very much credit card company brained because of the interest rates I generally collect.
So I tend to do the more complicated paper deals for practice now and also to be able to do bigger deals later on. So in today's deal, Farah had a house that she already put funding into it, but still needed money to get that deal done. This is the deal that she was talking about when she first came up here and started speaking. So she offered half the deal for less than what it cost her to get her half of the deal. So that sounds pretty good, right? Okay, so I put in an offer. Of course, I don't have all that money. So I said, yes, I needed some help. So little by little, we started getting people putting in money. 7,000 here, 2,000 there. Manny had his money put in. He didn't know about this. There's other people who are involved in this deal. They still don't know about this, and they're not here. So they'll find out when I send them the email. And so on and so forth. Okay, so how are we going to go ahead and manage this? Okay, so I've done this to Farah where we've had a bunch of people and now she's going to have to go ahead and manually do checks to every single lender. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and have all these other lenders, because there's more than she knows of. She won't want to do it this time manually. So we're going to engage someone that we call a servicer. This is all technical at this point. I'm going to just kind of go at a very high level. So this servicer basically would take Farah's check and then split it amongst all the other lenders. So that way it saves Farah the trouble of having to do that. So that's when the payment is actually done. So I'm going to organize paperwork. I will probably do a trust. Okay, again, this is what's going to happen, but this is exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to put together a trust for everyone. We're going to define what everyone's contribution is. We're going to show the proportions of those contributions, and we're going to figure out, okay, this is the dollar amount you put in, this is your percentage of the deal, this is what the payment is going to be, we apply your percentage, this is how much you're going to get paid every month. Okay, so within the different IRAs, there's different custodians with this group. Everyone literally is going to be different with the exception of a few. And so I'm going to help them get their paperwork filled out. I think that out of this group, there's at least 2 who have not filled out. This is going to be their first self-directed IRA deal. And again, Manny's one of them. So I'm going to help fill out their paperwork, best guess, because not every one of these custodians I'm familiar with. So I'll do my best to help fill that out, and we'll work through funding the deal. Okay, so I'm helping because I have the the education that I paid for, the practice that I put myself through. I mean, it's not fun filling out all this paperwork. It's not fun figuring out how to do all these things until you realize, hey, I'm making money on this. And if I know how to do this, I can do this again. And if I know how to do it this way, maybe with a little bit different situation, I can do it another way. Okay, so now it becomes fun because it's a challenge for me to go ahead and see how well I can do this to actually make a deal work. So if we had to try and crowdsource everyone in with smaller dollar amounts, how could we get that done in terms of a lien? How can we do that in terms of monthly payments? How do we do that? If in the event the house is sold, how do we split up the equity with everyone? Okay, all that can be fairly complicated. So I'm basically taking my time to go ahead, help organize all this. And then as I present to Farah, here's essentially the equivalent of a single check with a single payer. So you just pay this along with any other payments you need to make. I think there's institutional funding that's involved as well. So maybe 2 checks, right? So cut it down from maybe 10 checks down to 2 checks. Yeah, that's how many lenders are potentially behind this particular deal.
So that's a complicated deal where instead of lending money with a note and a security instrument, whether it be a deed of trust or hypothecation agreement or a mortgage if we're on the East Coast, or a wrap mortgage or an all-inclusive trust deed, those are all different security instruments which we can use to secure the loan to some asset. And every deal is going to be unique to some extent. Some of it gets cookie cutter-ish, but every deal is unique. You got a quickie or?
I was gonna add to what Goodwin was saying. So, also that trust is 50% owner in the house, and then
Yes.
I would be 50% owner. So that's how it's secured, is they're on title is 50%.
Beneficial interest in the trust. Right.
Right, so going through and tying what Andy just said, so on the deed of trust, Farah will be on it. Also, that trust will be on it. So that's on the deed of trust. Within the trust.
Wait a minute. Wouldn't be on a deed of trust. It's ownership. You're buying half of the house. So the two of you, or the trust that owns the new house, half of the beneficial interest will belong to Farah, and half of the beneficial interest will belong to this additional trust you're going to cobble together of all the investors.
Right.
So there's no deed of trust except for the deed of trust between the institutionalized lender and the institutionalized buyer, right? Okay.
Right.
David had a question in the back. Remember, if you're dealing with an institutionalized lender, getting a second will frequently screw up the deal. And we may find that Goodwin, as the trustee of the trust that owns its half, may have to sign the docs on the loan. David.
Actually, Ray.
Ray, I'm sorry. I got close.
Yeah, I had one question. What happens if you need a new roof? How does the decision making go on that and selling the property?
So I've done these in the past where I was giving up an ownership in a house and I did all the work. I was doing the management. I was going to just declare what the earnings were at the end of the month. So when I do that, as the operator in my practice would be that I would fund the roof. But then I would get 100% of the proceeds from the house until I had recuperated, gotten back the money I had advanced. And in a well-run deal like this, you're going to have reserves. The Goodwin and Farah and anybody in the group that wants to have some input, they will determine how much in reserves are going to be held back before they start making distributions.
Right. So in the course of using your self-directed IRA or cash in a deal, this is not 100% self-directed IRA. It doesn't have to be, But in the course of doing a deal, you get to learn a lot about different things that you may not have been exposed to. Now, when you bought your house, you go through a lot of paperwork, but who goes through to explain what all that paperwork means? So in our sessions, we will have a Zoom call. This is my practice, by the way. This is not necessarily everyone else's practice. I will have a Zoom session with all the lenders and the potential buyer, or basically the borrower at that point. And we're gonna go through and ask, okay, so the point that Andy just brought up right now, what amount of reserves should we have? Who knows what reserves are to begin with?
Liquid
Right.
cash?
Yeah, it's going to be cash used for what purpose? Yeah, essentially emergencies. Okay, how do you determine what amount to have set aside? It depends on the property, right? It depends on the state of the property. What else?
Well, it depends on the state of the property. It depends on the construction. If you have a 5-year-old Southern California house with a nice tile roof and all the hurricane and earthquake bracing, you obviously need less reserves than if you have a 100-year-old sitting on top of stone foundation house. So one's going to require much higher reserves than the other. So you have to figure out as an investors, how much are you comfortable with on your reserves? Because reserves have to be held liquid. They're not going to be earning you anything. They're just going to be sitting there melting in a bank account somewhere.
Yeah. Well, this is one of the benefits of working with investors. You get to learn from everyone else's experience. You get to be able to use smaller amounts to go ahead and do part of an investment. You don't have to continue with the mentality of doing everything 100% by yourself.
That's too hard. I said that's too hard anyway for the.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, let's get back to self-directed IRAs. Who else has a quick question that we can go through?
Or a long question we can make more complicated. Oh, everybody. Oh, there we go. That's a new face over there. I like that.
No, I've been here a while.
Okay.
I've just been hiding.
Just haven't talked yet. Oh,
So traditional IRAs, they can be tax free, if I remember what we said earlier.
so a traditional IRA,
I got it flipped.
the parlance of traditional and Roth, a traditional IRA, you get a deduction
Deduction, okay.
when you put the money in. So you save paying the taxes on that $6,000 when you're young and healthy.
Yes.
Then when you're old and ugly, then you take that money out and it's a substantial large pile of money and you're going to pay taxes on that bigger pile of money.
Okay.
So when would you rather pay tax on 300 or 69 million?
No, definitely the 300. I'm just
Okay.
making sure I have it right. So the Roth IRA is the one where you pay with money after taxes are already taken out.
The Roth is the one that you do not get a deduction on now.
And
You're
then-
paying taxes on the seed.
Okay. And then for the self-directed IRA, if you're putting money into that, is that money after taxes? So is that tax-free? Not the seed. The seed is
There
money
are-
that's taxed. So the proceeds, is that tax-free down the future if you don't borrow money from an external source?
Okay, that question, I was doing great till you got to the end of that question. So look at Manny down at the end of the table you're sitting at.
Yes.
Manny has money in his self-directed IRA that is traditional money. He looked forward to that big $6,000 deduction he got every year because his financial advisor said, you need to fully fund that IRA so you can get the tax deduction. Who here's heard that from a financial person? Everyone who's talked to one, right? It's bullshit. So he's got money in a traditional self-directed, mostly buy and pray, right?
Yeah, it's pretty much just ride the roller coaster.
Yeah.
Whatever they invest in, yeah.
Lots of antacid pills. So, yeah, and there's nothing to be embarrassed at. The guy sitting between you made the same mistake, up to a couple $1 million in taxable money that we're going to have to pay taxes on. Young lady.
Okay, I'm next. What are my options if you are a retired individual that doesn't have any income? What do we have left? Can we do a Roth? What do we do?
So when you say you don't have any income, there's something preventing you from going out and earning $6,500 this year or $7,000 this year?
I have that in the bank.
There's something preventing you from earning $7,000 this year?
You want me to go to Walmart?
No, go to a garage. Do you like garage sales?
So I need income.
Yes.
It cannot be.
No.
Okay.
You have to have income. Do you like garage sales?
No.
Do you want to learn how to negotiate for a house?
Yes.
Go to garage sales. I love garage sales.
Oh.
You know what I love to ask them? I say, this is a nice garage. How much do you want for it? So if you go to garage sales and you find, tell me something you're interested in. I'm not done with her yet, Johnny.
Okay, what if I earned money as a private money lender? Can I use that money?
Yes,
Oh my gosh, I found it.
as long as you're paying tax on it and it's, okay, gang. Marty, Schedule E, Schedule C. Earned income.
See.
Schedule C. You have to have Schedule C income. See the 92-year-old man in the back of the classroom in the middle? Yellow shirt?
Yes.
Korean vet?
Yes.
He has a lending business. Do you know why he has a lending business?
I know.
Because he's qualified to have a solo 401k plan for his lending business.
Oh, I need to talk to him.
If you can talk to him if you'd like. He may not understand his lending business when you talk to him, but that's okay. You realize who he looks like, right? That's my dad back there. It's the truth, isn't it, Dad? You're a hard money lender. Who here writes checks to my dad? Look at, see, he's got some good loans out there. And he's got those good loans out there so he can have his solo 401k. And we should make sure we have time to talk about solo Ks before this winds up. Johnny.
Hi. I have money in a traditional. I was wondering how I would switch it over without penalties.
Thou shalt eat the microphone.
Hi.
You will not take the money out of your IRA. You will make a custodian to custodian transfer. You never, ever, 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 ever touch the money. You have buy and pay custodian, write a check, send a wire to real self-directed custodian. And you look at your statement over here, and it's empty. And you look at your statement over here, and all the money that was over here is now over here. It's a custodian to custodian transfer.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no tax.
Tell them about that warm thing of the IRA you always talk about.
About taking money out of the nice warm womb of Rothland, dragging it out in the cold, harsh, taxable world. Why would anybody do that?
Thank you.
Youngster in the back. Have we done that 500 a month question, you and I?
Yeah.
Good. Do you remember the numbers? Not old people. Go ahead.
If you invest in a real estate deal with your self-directed IRA, do you get to realize the tax benefits from it as well?
Great question. You guys get good questions here. The answer is maybe. Did you borrow money to make the investment? You bought a piece of real estate. Did you pay cash for it or did you borrow some money?
No, I'm saying if you use the self-directed IRA to invest in someone else's real estate deal.
So you're going to lend some money into someone else's real estate deal. So it would depend on your agreement with your partner. For example, almost everyone that's contributing to Goodwin's fund, his trust that's going to own half of Farrah's house, are using IRA money. So Farah is using her cold, harsh, taxable money, and our money is all in our nice warm womb of tax-free. So who would get the benefit from that deduction? Farah. So guess who's going to get that? Farah. Now, if you bought a rental house in your IRA, not necessarily a good idea, 401's a better place. You bought bought a house in your IRA and you financed 80% of it with an institutionalized loan, and your IRA put up 20%, you would owe tax at the trust rate on 80% of what that house made every year. Is that clear?
No.
No. So you borrowed 80% of the money to buy the rental house. Rental house makes $10,000 a year. You will pay UBIT tax on $8,000 of that income. Currently, that's 37%. It's a horrible tax. But you get to use the depreciation, all the deductions that are not normally available to an IRA, to offset the taxes that you have for your UDFI tax. So yes, in certain situations you can, in other situations you can't.
If someone has kids, how old can the kids be to open a IRA account?
Oh, great question. Number one, what's the easiest account to open for a kid? CISA, Coverdell Education Savings Account. You can put $2,000 a year. We could do a whole night on CISAs, couldn't we? We should. We should. We'll put that on our list, Goodwin. So I will say this much. CISA is a great way. You have 18 years to stuff money away for your kid, and you can build a generational pool of wealth for your family with it. As far as an IRA, your child, as soon as they can have any earned income, can put 100% of their earned income up to the statutory limit, which is $700 or $7,500 this year. 7,500. I can't keep track of it. It goes up every year, and I smile. Now, you have to be able to show that they can earn it. In a lot of these classes, you hear people say, well, I use my kid for a model in my marketing stuff. Let me explain a cold, harsh fact to you. Your kid is too frickin' ugly. It's not worth what you think they're going to get paid. Now, if you're going to do that, in the possibility that you will get audited because your kid is too freaking ugly, I want you to go to at least 2, 4 would be better, contractors, people that provide actors, kids, little kids to smile in real estate ads. Get at least 2, 4 would be better, bids for a kid the same age, same hair color, on your site, doing your ad campaign. What are they going to charge you for that, for a 4-hour shoot? Get that bid, put it in the folder, in the safe, so when you get audited from the IRS, you can say, well, Mr. IRS Auditor, I had these 4 bids, and it went from $2,000 to $5,000, so I paid my kid $3,500. I thought that was fair, taking the middle. You'll win that audit. But if you just say, my kid's gorgeous and I paid him $6,500 for an hour of photo shoot because I think he's cute, you're going to lose that audit. And what happens if you make a prohibited transaction in your IRA? It blows up. It goes away. It all gets yanked out in the cold, harsh world of taxable income.
Could you talk about the benefits and the limitations of owning real estate in your IRA?
Certainly. I don't own any real estate in an IRA. I own a lot of paper in my IRA. If I want to own a rental house in an IRA, I would, in a retirement account, I would choose a solo 401k plan to own that real estate. And here's why. as we just said, if you make a prohibited transaction, the IRS finds out that you mowed the lawn at your rental house. Is that a prohibited transaction?
Yes.
Yes. The IRS finds out you mowed the lawn at your rental house that belongs to your IRA. What happens to your IRA? Blown up, gone.
What do you mean by blown up?
I mean distributed on January 1st of the year when you made the prohibited transaction.
The whole thing, right?
The whole thing gone. You just start over again. You have taxes, and if you're not 59 and a half, you have a 10% penalty on top of the taxes. So, having done the same mistake in your solo 401k plan, rental house, mow the lawn, what's the penalty? You're going to pay a penalty on that income from that rental house, and they may distribute that rental house. Does that seem fair? That those two retirement accounts are treated so vastly differently. Does that seem fair? Good. I don't think it seems fair. But if you understand that a solo 401k plan has the same rules as a giant corporate 401k plan, would it be fair if the guy in HR who runs the 401k plan for GM made a prohibited transaction? How fair would it be for every employee of GM to have their solo 401k plan distributed January 1st of the year the HR guy made an error? Clearly not fair, right? So that's why they're treated differently. Go ahead.
So going back to Mike's first question, Andy, could you elaborate, well, if we're not being recorded, could you elaborate on...
Don't worry about it.
Okay. Can you elaborate on with the CISAs and your children working?
Well, nobody has to work for a CISA.
Sorry, not to work for a CISA, but if you want to put your kids to work, I guess I would say.
So we're talking about funding an IRA.
Okay.
Okay, so.
So you once gave me the example when I told you that I felt my grandkids were too young. And so you gave me a creative way to work that out. So.
I have a number of them.
Okay, can you talk about one?
Sure. Who here has a home office? Who here has paperwork that has to be shredded? Who here has a 4-year-old that loves running the shredder? What's minimum wage in California? Some ungodly amount of money. So if you were to pay $16.50 for shredding, and they spent 10 hours shredding one day, that's $600, no, it's almost $200, right? So I have a seminar. I teach classes. I may be a shock to you. I'm teaching August 3rd and 4th. And I have manuals. Guess who puts manuals together when she was 10? Katie. What do I pay for manual assembly? About $25 an hour. That's fair. I can justify that, I think.
Yeah, because not only do you want them put together, you want them put together right.
Yeah, unlike Kinko's. I can say Kinko's since they're dead.
Right.
Cool. You're back up here. Did you want to talk, pontificate, and make me walk the microphone?
I was getting tired.
Oh, I don't blame you.
Follow-up question on the CISA. The kid decides they don't want to go to college. What can you do with that money now?
Okay, we're going to do a quick, because really, I can do 2 hours on CISAs because I think they're magical.
I think we should.
Sometime before that kid hits 30, you're going to transfer the beneficial interest in that CISA to a younger relative, and the term relative is poorly defined in the tax code. So theoretically, and there was a question in the Weekly What If a couple months ago about this, you fully fund a CISA for your kidlets until they get to be 29. And if they haven't already popped out a kid of their own, hopefully they have a nephew or a niece from their sibling. And you transfer that beneficial interest to the youngest relative in the family. And it grows until that infant is 29.5. And you can keep doing that generationally for very, very, very many years. And some point of the CISA class, we will turn off the tape recording, and I will talk to you about building wealth in placeholder babies. Yes.
Going back to your child labor over here, how much can be earned without being taxed, and how much can be contributed into an IRA without being taxed?
So the question is, how much can they earn without having a taxable event? And what was the second half?
How much can be contributed into an
Oh.
IRA?
So we can put $7,500 into an IRA, up to 100% of what they earn, or $7,500, whichever's greater. No, whichever's less. So it caps out at $7,500. If they only earn $500, that's all they can put in. So it's tough getting old. Did I answer your whole question?
Sounds about right, yeah.
Okay, young lady on the end. I think you've got the microphone. Oh, no, it's behind you. Okay.
If you purchase a property in your solo 401k, and then you want to get a note using that property as collateral, does that trigger the UBIT?
No, because any money that you borrow in a solo 401k for purchase or improvement of real estate is not subject to UDFI. Another amazing benefit of the solo 401k plan. And I will sell some books. If you go to Amazon.com, oh, we got one in the back. Hold that. Can I have that? Can you bring that up here to me? Somebody? Somebody walk it up here. I will tell you that is not a tulip on the cover. It's a piggy bank from the top. It just looks like a tulip. This is the Solo 401k plan book. It is written by Dykes Botiford, Dorsey Botiford, his daughter, and John Heyer Esquire. Buy a copy. It's under $30 right now on Amazon. That's brand new. $22 if you buy used. It will teach you about the benefits of a solo 401k plan. And there's amazing, amazing, amazing benefits that are available to you on the solo 401k plan. And I believe this is the best book available today on that particular plan. Yes.
So I have a couple of questions.
Good.
One is, can you have a Roth, a self-directed Roth, and a solo?
Yes.
And a 401k, from my understanding, I'm sure I'm wrong, is when you have a W-2 job. If you're self-employed, can you do a solo 401?
The man in the yellow shirt behind you has a lending business. He does hard money loans.
Got it.
So he can have his solo 401k plan. No W-2s for 32 years now? Is that really right? 30 years, yeah.
And my last question, fees on self-directed IRAs. The companies that you sign up with, is it normal for fees to be done? I know like mine is annually, and then every time I do any type of transaction, I get popped the fee.
Is it fair for a business to make a profit? Does your IRA custodian have a business to run, and do they have overhead? They all have fees. At some point, you're going to want, if you build enough of a family group of IRAs and retirement accounts, you may choose to go to one where they have a concierge plan. It's $3,000 a year flat fee for up to 10 familial accounts. And I'm actually going to be transferring 7 accounts to that program. But we're not here promoting specific custodians. Every custodian charges a different rate. Every custodian has a different quality of services. Every custodian has its advantages and its disadvantages. I have a couple I really like. Goodwin really likes one that I've had real annoyances with over the years. So I don't talk about them. My mom taught me not to. In the back.
Okay, going back to owning real estate with an IRA. If you own real estate outright with an IRA and fix it up and flip it, is that taxable, the gain?
Yes, because you're running a business. That entitles you to UBIT
Okay.
rather than UDFI. So if you have a rental house in your IRA and you bought it with the intention of renting it, so here's the question. If you sell a house and you have to pay short-term capital gains, is that running a business? Yes, you're a flipper, right? That's a business. If you buy a house and sell it after you've owned it for at least a year and you bought it with the intention of having a rental house investment, how is that taxed?
So if there's no loan on it,
Long-term capital gains.
okay, got it.
If you pay long-term capital gains, that's not running a business, and you will not have UBIT on that. Yes.
Yeah, let's take one or two more questions, and then let's have people come up and talk about their self-directed IRA experiences.
Cool. Linda has a question.
Andy, can you talk about 457?
You gotta eat the mic.
Oh, okay. Can you talk about 457 deferred comp accounts? What
No.
is that like? No.
Can Goodwin talk about a 457 account?
It's no.
No. It's some kind of government employer account?
Sort of. I'm like.
John's raising his
Ebony
hand
over
behind
there.
us. So you work for the government?
I work for the county. I've been with 29 years, so I have one of those CalPERS
Okay.
accounts.
Yeah.
And they're.
So
yeah.
as long as you're working there,
It's a contractual agreement. You can't pull out unless you
Right.
quit.
now some of them you can do in-service distributions, but I don't usually suggest that. You can also borrow against that balance as well. Also something I'm not going to promote here. But once you retire, so here's what I would suggest. You said 29 and a half years, right? So retirement's not too far down the line, even though you're only 40.
Well, I wish. No, well, I'm retirement age now. I'm just hanging in there, and I'm also a real estate agent.
Okay.
So I do have a small amount in deferred comp because they encourage you to kind of merge the gap to, so you have a comfortable retirement. But when I hear you talk about like the taxes, I know the 457 deferred, they're deferring taxes until you take that money out. I can take it all out, but I have to pay taxes on it.
There's
or
better
I can
choices.
Take payments. Yeah, so my brain is just kind of working here as you're
Okay,
talking
so let's
about
talk about this. This is directed at everyone who has a 401k plan with a, John wants it, he was first. About the 457, yeah. So everyone that has that kind of 401k plan at work that you can't access, everyone that has a government retirement account that you can't access. The year before you're going to retire, I want you to start a business with no employees. I want it to make some money. It doesn't have to make a lot of money. You can go buy junk at garage sales, sell it at a profit, report yourself to the IRS, and put income on Schedule C as in cat that says you are a wage slave working for yourself. Andy has a handyman business. Why does Andy have a handyman business? Do I need the money? No, don't need the deduction. I don't pay any taxes. I'm a housing provider. I have a handyman business that makes right about $70,000 every year. You know what's magical about that? I can put $65,000 a year into my solo 401k plan. But if you're in your position, a year before you retire, I want you to start a business. I want you to pay taxes on the income you make on Schedule C from your business, whatever the heck your business is. Buy and sell postage stamps, don't care. Because you have Schedule C income, nope, I'm saying it wrong. Schedule E income, you have a business. Schedule C, you qualify for a solo 401k plan. This book up here. Then when you retire, you can roll your 457 makes no money plan into your solo 401k plan book. Right? Then you can go invest well. Instead of buy and pray, it's go buy a rental house. Yes.
Okay, so I'm glad that you ended there. This is Ebony. They said I can retire next year if I wanted to.
Do you want to?
Yeah, but I'm gonna wait one more year.
Okay.
So.
You have a business. You're a notary.
Yes, I have a lot of stuff.
Are you
but
are you reporting yourself to the Internal Revenue?
What, my
Don't
businesses?
answer that.
As far as the businesses, yes.
You are.
Yeah, I'll write off.
Do you have any
everything.
employees?
No.
Great. You
But-
qualify for solo 401k.
The question is I get my retirement, I roll it over to 401 solo or self-directed or
The solo
wherever.
401k
I'm rolling
plan.
it over somewhere.
Right?
Do I still get my monthly payments?
Whatever you decide to distribute out of it, sure.
Okay, so I'll still get it even after I roll it over.
Yes.
That's all I just wanted to.
Now you will be, presuming that you have deferred your taxes on that plan, you will have, you'll be paying income, you will say that again?
I paid my taxes in advance.
So it's all Roth money?
Oh, yeah. It
Oh,
goes
great. So you get to take out what you need tax-free? Cool.
So I would try and answer that a little bit differently. You can withdraw whatever you want. So if this is tax-free money, you can withdraw whatever amount you want. It's not just going to roll out automatically. See the difference? You have to request it. You're going to request it as a distribution.
Self-directed means you have to be in charge. We have to wear our big boy pants.
Because on the paper, it tells me how much they're going to give me a month.
That's because you've got it set up for an annuity when you retire. It's pre-tax? Yeah. It
So-
may be pre-tax. I would expect it to be.
Yeah, and so if it's pre-tax, as you were doing withdrawals, then you're going to be paying tax on the amount of each withdrawal. So that kind of brings up something that got me into the self-directed IRAs. So when I was back in Ohio and just getting started, I was looking into self-directed IRAs, and my partner at the time, she worked for Procter & Gamble. She had roughly $1 million, close to $1 million in her 401k account. So she thought, oh, I have $1 million. Wow, I'm going to be able to do well when I start withdrawing that. Then as we learn more about these accounts, and she realized that's pre-tax money. So as I withdraw money, either at the time that I want to, I could also be paying early withdrawal penalties depending on the age. Older, then no early withdrawal penalties, but just paying tax. And then at a certain age, now you're required, this is what they call the required minimum distribution, you're required to pull out at least this amount each year. So she realized that by the time that she retires, she would have to start withdrawing certain amounts of money and converting that over into a Roth account. Otherwise, she would be required to go ahead and pull money out, and she would have to pay the taxes on that. So the difference is that if she pulls out a smaller amount of money, she can control how much tax she pays in each withdrawal.
Until she's 74.
And then if she hits that required minimum distribution age, there's a formula in which the government calculates for you how much you need to pull out, and you have to have cash available to pay the taxes on that amount. And that will continue every year.
And when you're 92, it's 11% of the balance of the account. Yes, I concur. That is crazy. Okay, who's coming up first?
So we'd like to go ahead and have, okay, we know there's quite a few of you who have done deals in your self-directed IRAs. Of course, Andy and I could talk about our deals, but I'd like to hear from people out here. Maybe you've done one deal, maybe you've done 50 deals, but people don't get to see you very often. Come on up and let's hear your story. Okay, who would like to come up first?
Hey, I'm confused on the deal.
Which one?
I have a traditional IRA, and
Okay.
the money that I lent to the last deal,
Right.
it came from a traditional IRA.
Mhm.
That's gonna happen?
So the money that you're earning now is tax deferred, which means
The
it's
money
growing.
that's coming back in?
Yeah, that's earnings. That's growing, just like any other investment.
From the traditional into my Roth IRA?
Well, if you made the investment with your Roth IRA, then the money, those.
It came up from the traditional IRA.
So here's a thought. If you're gonna do deals in the exchange meeting, do deals with your self-directed retirement accounts and get the kind of yields that we expect in that meeting, you want to do that with your Roth accounts rather than with your traditional accounts. If you're gonna have a certain percentage of your money tied up in buy and pray investments, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, then do that with your traditional money because you're only gonna make 4 or 5%. Where if you're doing hard money loans and making 12, then you want to do that with Roth money.
When I switched custodians, they put it in traditional IRA, not on my
They
Roth.
took it out of a Roth account and turned it into traditional. They screwed your paperwork up. Fix it.
I guess. How can I fix it? Call the equity trust?
Oh, my favorite.
Yeah, you should check that because I don't necessarily think that's the situation. So check the account that it was pulled from and check the account that it was put into.
Well, I'm supposed to open 2 accounts, a Roth IRA and a traditional IRA.
Right.
On my current custodian.
Yeah.
But I only pulled so much, and it came into the traditional IRA. That's what I'm investing
You need to
from.
fix it. If you took money out of a Roth and put it into a traditional, you need to fix that problem yesterday. Johnny.
What are mutual funds?
That's not. You want to try that one, or should we just postpone that thought?
So what's the question?
What's a mutual fund?
What's a mutual fund? So mutual fund would be something where instead of investing in a specific stock, you have a fund that invests in multiple stocks that basically balances out. So that way you're not at risk with just the highs and lows of any single stock. So you might be investing in like certain sectors like power or real estate or however they might group a certain section together. So those mutual funds basically provide you an aggregate growth or decline.
You couldn't use those to invest.
Sure.
Well, I mean, if
you can invest in them, that's what I call a buy and pray investment.
Yeah, so if you have Fidelity or somebody like that, you can use mutual funds. And you can use a traditional IRA or a Roth IRA.
Right. You just don't have the yields that you can do in a self-directed account doing aggressively.
Right. So those custodians, so Fidelity, for example, is a custodian. Okay, so the custodians that Andy mentioned, UDirect, Advanta, I use Equity Trust, others use different custodians here. Those custodians allow you to invest in alternative assets. So it could be real estate, it could be promissory notes, it could be crypto, it could be gold. So those are alternatives to stocks.
Be cautious with gold. Because if you, I just cringe because I constantly hear the ads on the radio from these people that are saying, we can have physical gold in your IRA. And there was just a huge court case because they bought gold with their self-directed IRA account, put it in their basement in a safe, and they did nothing nefarious, but because they had it in their safe and had access to it, their IRA got blown up by the IRS.
Yeah,
So
that's
having
it.
physical gold is very dangerous if you can touch the gold. And if you can't touch the gold, you don't have physical gold, you have a piece of paper. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah, let's
Sure,
go ahead
come on
and talk
up here,
about
Farrah.
some deals.
Do you want to interview her? I'll let you.
All right.
So tell us about your deal.
Well, you said you wanted to know about my IRA?
About how you invested your IRA into different deals.
Okay. Well, I did want to start with before I became an investor, I was working full-time at Costco for 17 years. So when I no longer was employed with them, I was able to transfer, 17 years of funding an IRA, 401k. I was able to transfer that into an IRA with Advanta. Most of it was traditional, some of it is a Roth. So I just took a screenshot of what was in there right now, so I can kind of go over some of the deals. I know Ron had mentioned, I think it was Ron, about how, if you only had a couple $1,000s, like what you can do. So I wanted to kind of go over,
sure.
Like one of my first ones. Well, I didn't want my money sitting there for too long, so I actually had a friend, a lot of you know him, his name is Michael Hicks. He builds like really cool short-term rentals out in like the Tennessee, Georgia areas. And he needed money to fund the land purchase for the tree house that he built. So, I had like around 150 sitting in my account, not doing anything. So I lent him 135 and I get checks every month, and that funds my smaller deals that I've been doing. So the money I get from him, it's a 15-year loan amortized.
Okay, so your first deal was a $135,000 private loan.
Yes.
Okay, and how much paperwork did you have to go through to get that deal done?
We submitted the note to the custodian. From there, they had me fill out one form, and that was pretty much it, and just signed it.
Okay, and so you're
easy.
getting monthly payments on this, and how long will you be getting those monthly payments for?
So that was, I think this is the third year, so I have 12 more years left. He did say he plans to pay it off early, but we'll see. But I'm 41 right now, so I'll be around 55. I'm still not eligible to take anything out of my IRA, so I'm fine with a 15-year loan.
So this is what we call mailbox money. So basically, you do your due diligence up front, you get the work done up front, and then after that, you don't have to do any more work except go to the mailbox or go online, check your account, make sure you got a payment. Have you ever been paid late?
He actually sends me the checks ahead of time, so every January I receive checks for the year. And because I pay other people that have Advanta accounts, I just stuff that in the same envelope and mail it out. So.
Okay, and by the way,
so never late.
when we talk about Michael Hicks builds these short-term rentals, and Farrah just mentioned tree house in passing, Michael Hicks does not just stand up your typical single-family residence to do a short-term rental. He does these fantastic short-term rentals, and literally like tree houses or like cabins or other
basically all those like really pretty STRs that you see now that are not the mom and pop ones, the old couches and stuff. He was already doing the experience before the experience was a thing, and now it's a thing, right? So and he builds these like off a lake. He took these storage containers and built them right off the side of a cliff, which sounds scary. That would not fly in California, but he does really cool stuff. So if he doesn't pay me, I'm in first position, so I'm okay owning the treehouse.
Yeah. So
he's making a lot, like $400 a night.
And how did you meet Michael?
The first time I met him was at Tax-Deferred's Trust Concepts class, which at the time I thought was way too advanced for me. And looking back, it was, because the only thing I understood was a personal property trust, and the whole entire 2 days. I think that's where we met you too.
Right.
So basically, Andy puts at the bottom of his weekly what if a whole bunch of stuff that he goes to, and he puts his stamp of approval on. And so I just followed him around for, I think it was like 2-3 years of just a whole bunch of education as I was taking action, and that's where I met a lot of my lenders, and then I've lent money to them. So, yeah,
Okay.
I met a lot of people here too.
Okay, one question for,
So do you pay taxes on that money that you get?
No.
On those payments that you're getting?
No, it's so because when I first started with Costco, they didn't offer a Roth IRA option until I think I was like 10 years in. So most of that money is in a traditional IRA because I transferred it from traditional to traditional, and then my Roth to Roth. So as I get payments in, I only lend out of my Roth. And then so like a recent deal that I did with Lee Miller, he was offering at the time 100% ROI on, I think a lot of you during exchangers heard about that. So he did as little as $1,000 up to $6,500. And sometimes things sound a little too good to be true, but I was okay taking that risk since it is in my IRA, and I'm confident in myself that if I lost the money, I can make it up down the line, right? And I'd be like, well, 6,500 lost. Anyways, my point is I transferred money from my traditional IRA to my Roth IRA, and I did pay tax on that. Or I don't I paid tax, but when they send me the form at the end of the year, it'll say like what I transferred over. But I don't want to, like what Manny's doing, he's strategizing how much tax he pays. And so my goal is to eventually get all that money from my traditional over to my Roth, and that's what I'm paying tax on.
right, so to kind of re-qualify the question and answer, so any money that you lent out of your traditional, as payments come into your traditional, you're not necessarily paying taxes at that time because that's still tax deferred. And then when you're loaning out of your Roth account and getting the payments back into your Roth account, that's completely tax-free. Now, when you convert or roll over money from traditional into your Roth, you will pay taxes on the amount that you rolled over. Okay, and that's to be expected.
Yeah, so that's why I'm only doing little by little instead of just transfer. I mean, I could transfer all of it at once and then just, like Andy was saying, pay it now, but because there's not that much, I shouldn't say that much left. Basically, the only thing that's left is the money I lent to Mike. That's why I brought that up in the first place. So as those payments come in, and then it's saying that my account has, I think last time I checked, it was like around 8,000, or at least last week it was. So it was like 8,000, 5,000 in my traditional, and like 3,000 in my Roth. So say I wanted to lend out 8,000, I would convert that 5,000 traditional over to the Roth, and then eventually I'm paying tax on that. So, and eventually once he pays me off, there's gonna be nothing left in the Roth, and I've transferred everything over, left in the traditional, and then I transferred everything over to the Roth.
Okay, we'll take one more question for Farah, and then we'll give the mic to someone else.
I think you just answered it. I was wondering if your Roth, you put back in there and you don't pay anything, why weren't you lending out of your Roth? It's because you're trying to empty out your traditional.
Correct.
And get it to
But
zero.
I think I was just told that I'm doing it all wrong, so Andy's gonna correct me later. No?
No, I have a suggestion.
Oh, he's gonna suggest. Normally he just tells me I'm wrong. So I just listen to Andy. And anyone that has not taken his class and is like, oh, should I take it? Literally, I signed up to be a member in January of 2019. I didn't come to my first meeting. This is back when we're only doing the Mission Inn monthly, till May. And then I heard Andy say something about the class that he was just telling you guys about that he was offering. I took that, and a few weeks later bought my first mobile home. And that's really what saved me from when I left Costco. I was looking at what am I gonna do? And so now I flip mobile homes full time. So yeah, take his class. I highly recommend it. I know as a side note, but.
Okay. So I'm going to answer something in the meantime, and in the meantime, would someone else like to go and share their IRA experience?
Fernando's volunteering.
Yeah. So the part I want to go ahead and help clarify. So you've heard us talk about as we roll over money from traditional to Roth and you pay the taxes on that. One of the reasons why you don't just do the whole thing all at one time is because it counts against your W-2 income for the year if you still have a W-2 job. So what does that do? It pushes you into the next tax bracket. So what you want to do, and this is what Farrah was saying, trying to say multiple times as well, that she'll look at how her tax income bracket would be for that year, and this is true for other people. Look at what your income bracket would be there, and then roll over what will still keep you under the next tier. Yeah. Or if you know that going in that next tier is okay, because the benefits outweigh the taxes you're going to pay, then at least you are planning for that. Okay, so don't have like this several $100,000 in a traditional and try and roll it over all at once, because you will have to have ready cash to go and pay the taxes at that time. Okay, does that help? All right.
You certainly don't want to use your IRA money to pay taxes.
Exactly. You don't want to use that IRA money to go ahead and pay that portion. Okay, Fernando, tell us about how you got your self-directed IRA and what deals you've done.
Sure. I, like most of us, didn't know anything before I got to the club. I concur with Farrah, just doing deals with Farrah, Andy, Goodwin, all the same guys that you guys see here all over and over again makes a whole ton of sense. Andy's class is a life changer, so highly recommended. You'll hear this over and over again from all the members. So I kept on hearing about self-directed IRAs. I'm like, I've heard about IRAs. What's self-directed? What's the advantages and disadvantages? And all it is just going to one of these guys and asking, so how do I get that started? One of the mistakes I made myself is I opened a traditional self-directed IRA. So I now have to convert it to a Roth, but no big deal. We can just use the strategies that everybody else just related. The advice that I was going to give everybody else, especially as beginners, is to do due diligence to go through the fee schedules for every custodian. Really check into what you're going to use it for and if it's a good option for you. Because in one of these deals, obviously, we found out, I, like most of us, said, you know what, UDirect is the one that I chose, which is, in my personal opinion, with the one of 3 deals that I've used, it's only been a headache for one of them, but I was forced to go through the fee schedule and find out something that Andy mentioned where, UDirect, for example, has a fee schedule where they'll give you, I believe it's 12 incoming payments free of charge, but anything above that, you're gonna be paying a fee of, I believe it's like $15 per payment. Is it 10? Okay. So, for example, if you're doing all these mini deals with the rest of your fellow members, and you're getting 20, 30, 40, 50 incoming payments a year as you continue to scale your investment career, you're going to be charging fees for every single one of those incoming payments after 10. So at a certain point, you start thinking, okay, so does it make sense that I'm getting a $50 small chunk of change from a small deal, and I'm paying $15 off of that? Besides that, it's a nice long list of fee schedules. So you really have to go line by line and saying, okay, so what are you charging me and what the fees are? For example, now I found out that if I want to roll over to a different custodian, it's about a $350 fee just for that process. So me being a beginner that I have very little money in there, I'm already losing $350, which is probably the income that I've had so far, with the interest. So it really does pay, to do your due diligence. Another thing that I wanted to go over is, sharing that experience with hypothecation. I don't know if that has anything to do with the class today. Sure. But one of those deals that we did, obviously, was, I tagged along with Goodwin, such as the deal that we did today. In this case, it kind of forced me to learn about hypothecation, which is the process of using an asset as a collateral for a loan. Good question. In this case, what we used was a note for a mobile home in the deal that we were trying to do. So again, with the process of finding the right custodian, we and Goodwin could be my witness here. We had this was literally a 2-month process of going back and forth with UDirect to try to get them to understand what we were trying to accomplish altogether. Every custodian will have certain preferences on what you can and cannot do, even though it's your money, even though it's your self-directing your funds. So that's another thing to kind of look into, what you can and cannot do. In that situation, we had to go up the ranks to try to explain what we were trying to accomplish, and it wasn't really. I mean, we had a case where with Rich, actually, I believe was with the other person, who also had the same custodian. So we were trying to accomplish the same exact thing, and for whatever reason, with Rich, they were giving him a harder time with the same exact paperwork that we filled up the exact same way when my transaction passed right through. So it can really get down to the nitty gritty, and is these kind of things that you guys have to think about before pulling the trigger.
Yeah. So as Andy mentioned before, every custodian will have their good days and bad days, sometimes more than others. Some will charge higher fees, some will charge lower fees, some will not charge fees. It all depends on the kind of business you expect to run out of your accounts. Then you pick the custodian that works well for that business model. It's essentially as simple as that. So just to go ahead and pick a custodian because maybe someone you know is using that custodian, that might work out, that might not. So be careful, learn about what it is that you want to do, and then investigate the custodians, and then take a look at their fee schedule, model it, see how it works. You can email that custodian and say, hey, I'm trying to figure out how much it will cost me to use your company as a custodian for my funds. So can you look at these numbers and the fees that I've assessed and see if they are correct or not? And they will review that analysis for you for free. So I've done that with several custodians just to go ahead and test my findings out as well. Okay. Anything else you want to add?
That was it. I just wanted to mention that to you guys.
Okay. All right. So I like to get one more person up here just to talk about their experiences, and then let's see if we can wrap up at that point.
I got some experiences. Here we go.
All right.
Exciting stuff.
Just warning everyone, you might want to take a bathroom break first.
There's a semi-timer here. So the only investing I do.
Introduce yourself, because people may not know who you are.
Okay, my name is Marty Sprong. I am his favorite person in the world. I'm in Orange County in Seal Beach. I'm a CPA by trade. I don't tell people that too often. I try to keep it down low, because then people stop talking to me. CPA. Yeah. So I don't do taxes anymore now. I do what you love. Do what you love. And at any rate, so all the investing that I do is through my IRA and my solo 401k. I have a solo 401k because I have a business, right? So if you don't have a business, you don't have a solo 401k. So you need to come up with a business. That's what Andy was saying, right? You have to come up with a business in order to have a solo 401k. Some people get confused about that.
So quick question for you, Marty, since you're a CPA.
Oh, here we go.
So if I have a rental property and I get rents from that, can I use those rents to contribute to my solo 401k?
No, that's considered passive income. So you need to have earned income, like W-2 income, or you have a business that we talk about Schedule C. Yes.
You pay yourself as a property manager.
Right. You can set up a separate company, right? Like set up a separate company, Schedule C. Doesn't matter. It could be a S corp. We won't go into the details, but you can set up a business that you own and you charge to be a property manager. So that you can do it that way. I think that the important thing is to start somewhere, right? It's easy for all of us to start with a regular IRA. put your $7,500 a year. If you don't have an IRA, but you have money and you don't have earned income, whatever, you can invest with your personal money too, by the way, right? We say use your IRA because you want to build your wealth and you want to build it in your retirement and not pay taxes when you pull it out. But some people invest, you have some money on the side that you have a 10 grand, you want to lend out, you can do that as well.
So how about another question? So I just opened up a IRA account and I have a few $1,000s in there, but I have cash also. Can I use both on the same deal?
Yeah, so you can partner up with your IRA, and it's self-directed IRA, right? We call it IRA, or your solo K. So you can partner up. So I could put 10,000 of my personal and 10,000 of my IRA money, or whatever percentage that is, right? And you got to keep that same ratio when you receive. Let's say, for example, I lend money, and I do 2,000 from personal and 8,000 from IRA, right? So it's 80-20. So when I get the interest payment each month, 80% needs to go to my IRA and 20% to my personal. You got to keep it the same, and if you do that, you're fine. You're fine. You're not doing anything bad. The only thing what things you can't do is you personally cannot benefit from your IRA. So I can't go buy a house with my IRA money and live in it. I can't use it. I can't even sleep in it, technically. So, and that's where you get in trouble. Hey, well, how would they find out? Well, the IRS is not going to find out, possibly, but follow the rules. You don't mess around about blowing up your IRA. It's not worth it. So yeah, definitely that's something you can do. You can get your, you could partner up actually with your parents. You can JV with them, but you can't lend them money with your IRA, but you can partner up with them. So if your parents have some money, which a lot of times parents have more money than you do, hey guys, I got this property, can you help? Let's JV together. So you put in X amount, I'll put in X amount. And whatever percentage that is, just stick with that same ratio.
So this goes back to prohibited individuals. So this is where Andy mentioned vertical. So that means parents, so whatever is above, or children, whatever is below. So what does that leave you? Siblings, cousins. So you can transact directly with each other at that level, horizontal level, but not vertically. But if you can partner together on the same deal, just as long as you are not doing with each other directly.
Right. I've heard siblings both directions. I don't know what the right answer is, but I would be cautious lending to my sister.
You can. Siblings are okay.
I've heard it both ways.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I've been trying to convince my brother to lend money to me, and he won't do it.
So that's not a prohibited transaction?
Not if you're partnering with them. You're not lending money to them, or they're not lending money to you.
So as long as you have, let's say, 50-50 on a property, you're fine.
They're fine. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, as long as one person's not trying to buy the property and you're helping them out. If you're both partnering on the purchase of the property, that's fine.
Oh, so if one of you were to buy it and then one of you to rehab it, no go. But if you went 50-50 on the purchase, 50-50 on rehab, let's say, that could be okay.
Right, and then as long as now when it comes to rehab, let's say you partner on the house with your parents. There's some rehab needed. You're using your IRA money, right? You can't physically rehab that house.
No.
You can't, right? You can't paint it. You got to outsource it. Your dad can. Your dad can paint and that kind of thing. But just make sure there's a lot of nuances, guys. You're not gonna learn everything tonight. The book that he mentioned is fantastic. There's some other ones out there. Just understand the basics right now. That's all you need to get out of this for now. There's a lot to know. There's a lot of good stuff on YouTube that we can refer, some videos to watch. That's where I got a lot of my information initially. And then I started reading books, and then I started doing it. And then I did a deal, and this is why I'm actually sitting up here to tell you about my experience. So my first experience was, due to him, actually. He's the one who kind of lit the fire underneath my behind. He says, Marty, you need to do a deal. You know enough, you learn enough, I've done the classes, et cetera, et cetera. So I said, okay, let's lend the money to this person. And he didn't want to at first. Well, no, because she wanted 10%. And I said, but like Pete Fortunato says, you gotta create allies, right? Friends and allies. And so, and he's like, you know what? You're right. Let's do this. And so we lent money. We put, I don't know what we did. Less, it was like maybe 20 grand total, something like that. And we JV'd together. He did the paperwork, because I didn't know, never done this. And he let me do a lot of he did the paperwork. I did a lot of the other stuff, if you will. Dealing with the borrower, that was fun. We had some issues there. But it was a great learning experience. Got it done, we still have the loan, she's paying, everything's fine. But that gave me confidence. Once you do that first deal, whether it's lending or flipping or whatever, once you do that first one, it's like, the weight gets lifted off your shoulders. And so that gave me a lot more confidence. I'm like, oh, I can do this, because you have an example now. Hey, I got paperwork. Everyone says, well, where's the paperwork? Well, now I've got paperwork, okay? And then you'll do another deal, and you'll do another deal with someone else, and they've got paperwork. And you look at their paperwork. Well, your paperwork looks better than this paperwork. I like this, I don't like this, and then you start to modify things. You make your own paperwork, right? And then you start to network with people, and then you're like, let me see your paperwork. And then you kind of make up your own way of doing things as well, processes. So that was my first deal. And I've done other ones similar to that with him and some on my own. But it was the first one, that's all it took. And that's what I recommend with you guys, whether it's small, do a deal with Goodwin, like everyone did today. We saw that, that's a great way to start. And don't be scared, because he'll take care of you.
Right? How about, what about one of the deals that you did on your own?
Yeah, he stopped paying me. No. Nothing special about it. It was just, again, simple loans, right? I'm using my IRA or my solo K. What the benefit of a solo K, by the way, is that you can set up a separate account or have checkbook control. So actually, I'm the one sending the wires. I'm not having to just normally with an IRA custodian. I use directed IRA, by the way.
So explain checkbook control, because I don't think that's been mentioned.
Well, checkbook control means typically they say you have an IRA and you set up an LLC, and then the LLC, you're the managing member of it, and you can have a checkbook control. You can actually write the checks. Let's not go into that. But so normally, when you have an IRA, you have a custodian. It's their account. They're the one sending the money. You're telling them, you're giving them instructions. Here's a piece of paper that they all have a form. So if I need to make a loan, I have to send them a direction of a DIR or something like direction of investment.
Right.
Here's the form. Here's the person I need you to send the money to. Here's the note. You need to review it, or they will review it because they're signing it as the lender. Actually, the IRA custodian is the lender, so they have to review it. So I think the first time I did one, or one of the times, they actually didn't like the note because, hey, you forgot this. It wasn't ours, it was a different one. But I learned, right? Now I have better notes, and I know what they want now. So I just use that same note for the most part. But keep in mind when you do IRAs, and I was getting into the checkbook control thing, and I'll get back to it. Things take time. So if you need money tomorrow, so Goodwin says, hey, Marty, I got this deal. I need 50 grand tomorrow. Okay, well, we gotta draft the paperwork, blah, 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 blah. And Goodwin's like, hey, don't worry about it. It's done. I already did it. I need the money tomorrow. Well, yeah, I gotta get the money from my IRA, my custodian. That takes time sometimes. You can pay $150 to expedite it, but typically, most of the time, mine takes 2 to 3 days. That's normal. So you have to anticipate that, right? So expect that. Now, for my solo K account, I have a bank account at Titan Bank. That's what Directed IRA recommended me use them because they have a little thing going on. I have access to that anytime. I'm going to be tomorrow. Someone needed money. They texted me today, hey, I need money tomorrow. Not a problem. I don't need to, I've got my paperwork. Remember the paperwork I talked about? I've got it. It's done. We're going to do a DocuSign tonight. She's going to send it back, and the money's going out tomorrow. So that's the benefit of having checkbook control, so that's something you look into later, but having a solo K, it's easier to have that control. Sorry? And safer and all that good stuff. But just don't do anything wrong and you won't blow anything up.
Okay. Questions for Marty?
One last thing, you asked me about Schedule C, that kind of thing. I have a corporation, it's an S corp, and which you don't need to know understand what that means, but it's called an S corp. That K1 that I get, that piece of paper at the end of the year from the tax guy, my tax guy is me, but is a form. It's called a K1. That goes on my Schedule E as well, though, right? So I still have a solo K. So I just because I said Schedule C, it's actually not entirely correct, but just know that you have earned income, W-2 or Schedule C. No, excuse me, not W-2. You need a business. Schedule C is the easiest way to say that, but just earned business. It's not rental income, because rental is passive. So.
Okay, Marty, right?
That's correct. Hi.
Okay, I have an S corp. I have 2 LLCs, and I have rental. So based on what you said, is I can hire my husband under my S corp, and as a property manager to manage my rental. Is that correct?
Well, it has nothing to do with your husband. So your S corp.
As an employee, I can hire him as an employee.
Well, so it's good. This is a good point. It's a good thing you're bringing up here. You can't have any employees. However, your
Am I
wife, your
S
spouse
corp?
can be. Your spouse can be an employee, so you're okay there. Normally, you can't have an employee, but you're fine. But because he's your husband, keep him your husband. Don't. or fire him if no. I'm just kidding. But so you would essentially your S corp would become a property manager.
Yes.
Right. And then your S corp would charge the LLC, which owns the rental. Right. Your rentals are in the LLCs.
No.
Oh well, let's pretend.
Okay.
The houses are in the LLC for protection. That's why you have an LLC for legal protection. Doesn't matter. Oh, God, we can go into a lot of things.
Actually, I
can't
am
we?
going to do that. I'm going to do a quick claim and then move it over. Yes, go ahead.
Talk to me first.
Hmm?
Talk to me first.
I will. Okay.
So
I can do that.
if I understood your question correctly, yes, you could. Yeah.
Okay.
But you already have a job. I mean, you have.
I don't have a job.
No, we talked about. No, we have a. You
I'm
mentioned earlier,
retired.
but you have an earned. You do something that you could.
I do a private money lender.
Okay, well, yeah, that's fine. Do that.
Okay, so my other question. Oh my God, I drew a line. Oh yes, the money that you lend. Are you always doing first lien, second lien? What do you do?
Both.
Both.
It's. I thought it's mostly seconds, typically, because it's people here saying, "Hey, I got this house. I need to do some rehab. I need some rehab money." Some of it's acquisition, so first lien. So both, but most of it's been second. But I prefer first.
Yeah.
Now I prefer first because there is one loan that the person's not paying us.
You're right.
So which is it's not great, horrible, but it's education-wise, it's been pretty good for me because wasn't a lot of money. I'll survive, but I've learned what I did wrong. I screwed up, and I trusted somebody. I trusted the person who brought that person. That ultimate borrower didn't know the person. So now at this point, I'll never lend to anybody I don't know, but they don't know, like, and trust.
Right.
Right? That was one mistake. The other one was I didn't do my due diligence. I didn't even go look at the property. I trusted, it's, this, because it was a small amount. I'm like, I don't care. Well, I'm not going to get that money back, And that was the second position. And, yeah.
You're not going to try to sell it up?
Well, they're not going to. It'd be a bad note. I mean, they're never going to get it. So that one we actually have, thanks to Goodwin, because he's part of this deal too. He made the same mistake as I did. We trusted. We both learned, right? So it brought us closer. But Goodwin had the borrower. The borrower was actually an LLC, but had the owner of the LLC give a personal guarantee, which has a little bit more bite to it, if you will. So we could technically go after her and her assets if she has any. So we have up to 4 years to go take her to small claims, and let's say we win, we will, and then we can go after her assets. Like if she has W-2 income, we can garnish her wages. Who knows? She can file for bankruptcy and it's wiped away. But small claims is relatively inexpensive. I heard. I haven't done it. I'm going to learn. Good. Education, right? This is part of that education. I'm losing $6,000, but man, I'm learning a lot. Really. What if it was $1 million or $100,000 or $200,000 I was losing? That would really hurt. I know people who've lost that and stopped real estate investing altogether. It scared them away. So I'm taking my, what does Bill Tan say about shirts? Earn my scars and t-shirts, whatever. I don't understand what that means, but.
Been to a rock concert?
Well, no, like art.
Never been to a rock
Well,
concert?
okay, I've been to a concert, but you say rock, so this is
Did you buy a
different.
t-shirt?
I've been to Mary J. Blige, R&B, not rock.
Did you buy a t-shirt?
I gotta take you to a punk show.
Oh, see, I
Got the t-shirt.
got to okay, go t-shirt, yeah.
Just like going to a concert.
Okay.
Yeah. Buy the t-shirt.
Okay. With the bruises? Anyway, having said that.
And by the way, this incident, what I've learned from it also, if you've taken my course on promissory notes and private lending, that's documented in there. So the outside of changing the names and the property address, how I actually did it and where the potential shortcoming still would be based upon what we found out in this process, that's documented in that course.
So there was a benefit to that month.
Yeah. So I learned from that. I'm still learning from it. And everything that I've learned so far, or at the time that I taught the course and put the manual together, it's all in there. Okay. Any other questions for Marty or Andy or myself?
There's got to be something you're confused about.
Okay, one
Gotta be.
question.
Don't be afraid to ask.
I know Andy doesn't like buying property with a Roth, but do you ever buy property with the Roth? Or do you only do paper?
An IRA as opposed to a 401.
What's that?
An IRA is opposed to a 401, not a Roth or a traditional. All I have is Roths.
So do you buy property with a Roth?
My 401's a Roth, yes.
Hmm.
Let's
I
talk
thought you
about that for a minute. Can I move your
Okay.
microphone? So, right, so you can have Roth funds in a solo 401k plan, you can have Roth funds in an IRA plan. You can have traditional funds in a 401k plan. You can have traditional funds in an IRA plan. People get confused. Those are two completely different. You got north and south and east and west. So you can have northeast and you can have southeast and you can have northwest and southwest. So if you were to call 401k plans north, you can have east and west, right? And if IRAs were south, you can have east and west there. So whether it be Roth or traditional has to do with how you choose to pay the taxes on that money, not the type of account it's in. So all of my retirement funds are Roth, with the exceptions of one I'm going to end up with it someday and have to deal with that painful experience of paying all those damn taxes. So did you want to expand your question a little? Okay. So there are two different kinds of SACs. There's a 401k SAC and there's an IRA SAC. Does everybody get that? Two different styles of retirement funds. In each of those two SACs are two smaller SACs. One SAC says traditional, the other SAC says Roth. And you can have a traditional SAC in your 401k. You can have a Roth SAC in your 401k. You can have a traditional SAC in your IRA. You can have a Roth SAC in your IRA. So Roth goes on either a 401 or a solo or a 403B or a 457 or any other of the 142 flavors of retirement accounts there are out there.
So purchasing property with
what
the Roth SAC.
Whether it's the question is whether you're going to buy property with your IRA or your solo, okay, either one. The question is, Marty, do you buy properties with your retirement funds? Whether it's IRA or solo, it doesn't matter, right? You're asking me if I use my retirement money to buy homes. I have not. I don't think I would. Just the risk of something happening, they sue me and they go after my IRA or whatever, what have you. That's the main reason. We hear, I think Pete would never hear. Pete doesn't, and so what Pete says, I do, typically. But what I would do, and this is kind of, I would, for example, Farah asked, hey, I need X amount of money for 50% of this property. I personally would lend her the money, but have you participate, it'd be a participation note, where I'll give you, I don't know the details, but I'll give you a note, and I want 5%, and I want 50% or 45% of the profits. I don't want to own it, right? But I want the right for the income, and if you sell it, I want, that's what I would do it, that way, because I don't want to own, because I'm only using my retirement funds, not my personal. If it's my personal, it'd be a different story. And then I would start talking about trust, or maybe an LLC, it depends on what I want to protect. One thing that I would do, what I would probably do is have them own the house. He sets up a trust with all his minions, and she has a trust, or her name, own them together, because he's got his thing going on over here with his people and distributions and blah, 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 blah. I think that's easier to keep it cleaner, but at the end of the day, they all own it the way, but that's a structure thing.
This is I would say this is probably the last question.
Instead of ownership in your retirement account, you would put a note out. Would that have a collateral of the property on it, or would you leave that alone?
Of course. Yeah, no, the collateral is always going to be a house. Either that house or another house. It doesn't have to be, what? What? No, well, it could be a mobile home on land, it could be a car, it could be whatever you want it to be. If you're going to borrow money from me, it's either going to be unsecured because I know you and I trust you, and it's a small dollar amount. I've done that. I'm doing that. I'm doing that tomorrow, right? The money that's going out tomorrow. Someone needs to buy a car. No problem.
You take firstborn?
I'll take your firstborn. I like sushi. Take me to dinner for the rest. No. But yeah, I mean, it's you got to have collateral for the most part, right? You always want to be secured. In going back to our story about the money we lost, it is secured in second position. Actually, he's in third because he wrapped it. That's a different story. It's another Wednesday night. But we're in second position, right? There's a first position. Let's say a bank has the first loan, right? We're next in line. It appeared that there was plenty of equity. That's why we did it, right? We trusted them. And true, we saw the paperwork. There was an appraisal, but things have changed, and we don't think it's worth that anymore. In fact, we don't think we're getting our money back because of that, right? They're going to sell it for some amount if the bank allows it in the first position. Let's say the bank they own $400,000. Let's say they sell for $400,000. The bank's happy, they get their money back. There's no money left over for us. That's it. We lost it, right? We can go after them afterwards. Technically, even if we don't have a personal, we can still go after. Depends on the state. Okay. I don't know the answer to that, but sometimes you actually still can go after them after the fact if you didn't get your money back. And the fact that it's an LLC might be another issue, right? So, good?
Okay, I think that's gonna wrap it, because we are at 8:30.
And you guys are gonna stay if they have more questions, right? Absolutely. Okay, so if you guys have more questions, it's not that you can't ask your question, we're just gonna wrap up for the people that do need to take off, so.